Good evening and welcome to our workshop this evening. We're going to be talking about burping techniques. I apologize if you can hear my dog. He has decided to go a little nuts this evening. So just a quick overview of the evening. First, we're going to start with a little presentation on our topic that I shared, which was burping. Then we'll get a chance to go into breakout rooms and you can chat with our doulas. We'll pair up so that it's a little more efficient and easier so you don't burn out on conversation. But we'll do that at the end after the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to start. And that way I can mute so you don't have to listen to my dog. I am Amanda Kennedy, and I'm a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. My tip this evening around burping, I wanted to share a couple things. One is what your ultimate kind of goal is really thinking about getting babies back nice and straight and allowing an opportunity for the gas to escape. I always kind of explain it to families like we walk around upright and we're able to wiggle our bodies and move them around. And that's why we don't need someone walking around behind us, patting our back and helping us to burp. But our newborns can't do that for a few months. And even sometimes after the first 3 or 4 months, we're still helping them a little bit. But in particular in that first stage, we're providing some support because they can't do it themselves. So we're helping them find a way to move their bodies around and get a nice straight back and let that gas out. The other tip I wanted to share was be creative. Don't be afraid to try different positions. I know our other doulas will probably talk about some things that they find really helpful in terms of positions, but I like to generally just share, like, don't be afraid to try things. What works for one parent might not work for another parent, so it's okay if everybody has their own little style of getting that burp out. I love to share the story that there's one little guy who used to sit and try to burp him, and then we'd get up and walk over to the counter and put the bottle down, and he'd always burp when I was walking. And I was like, why am I sitting here for 10 minutes burping you? We're going to go for a walk. So I'd feed him, we'd get up, walk to the counter, he'd burp, and we'd be all good and happy and ready to go. I know other families, I've heard hilarious stories of dads talking about dancing with their babies and getting the burps out. Whatever works and is your trick, go for it. There's no right way to burp a baby. The best way is to get the burp out and spend the time and get that to happen. So those are my 2 pieces, and I will hand it on to Mandy.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I'm also a postpartum doula with Helping Hands, and I want to talk about common misconception when it comes to burping. And the first misconception is only breastfed babies, only bottle-fed babies need to be burped, and breastfed babies don't need to be burped. So some people say only bottle-fed babies need burping, and that isn't true. All babies can swallow air while feeding, even if they are breastfed. And while breastfed babies often swallow less air than bottle-fed babies, some still need to be burped, especially if they feed quickly or if the milk flows fast. So it's always important to watch your baby. If the baby is uncomfortable or squirmy, try to burp the baby. The second misconception is if baby burps once, I can stop. And many think one burp is enough, but sometimes babies have more air bubbles inside. And after the first burp, there could still be more gas that needs to come out. And I think another doula will talk about the time and duration of the burping. So if your baby is still uncomfortable after they let out one burp, try to burp again and continue burping. And then the third misconception would be babies only swallow air during feedings. So it's not only the feedings that causes baby to swallow air. Babies can also take air in when they are crying, for example, and this swallowed air can make them gassy or uncomfortable later. So sometimes burping is needed even when they haven't just eaten. And that's from me, and I pass it on to the next doula.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon, and I'm a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. I primarily do overnights. So my tip is that I always try and keep the baby in an upright position after the feeding for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the baby. Sometimes the burp is not sound like a real burp. It can just come out as little gurgle sounds, and they need that time to just let everything come up, and keeping them upright, straight upright, and hugging them for at least 10 minutes will, for most babies, give them that chance to allow that burp to come out. But people, you do get to know your own child and how long things take and best ways to do it. So there's some babies that need to be held upright longer than 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes even. So that's my big tip. I know it's really hard on night shift when you're so tired to have to sit upright with the baby for that extra 10 or 15 minutes. But in the long run, it really will pay off, because then the baby will get a better sleep, which means you will get a better sleep. So just try, if you can, take that extra couple of minutes, snuggle with the baby, keep them straight up and down. Like the other ladies have said, we want the air to be able to come out. And also, like Amanda said, sometimes I wiggle around with them as well in the upright position, because their tummy does go in different directions, and so it is good to help them to get that out. If you find when you lay your baby down after 10 or 15 minutes, they're good for 5 or 10 minutes, and then they start to squirm, 9 times out of 10 it is a burp, and if you pick them up, they usually give you a nice big burp at that time. So that's my tips. I'm not sure who the next lady is, but I will see you in the breakout rooms.
Next, we have Shondell. Shondell, you can take it away.
Hi, my name is Shondell, and I'm a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. My tip today is a few. Is first, you must make sure you have a burping cloth, because that's mainly important, because sometimes when the babies burp, sometimes they have a little bit of spit up and you don't want that all over your clothing. So that's the first tip I have. The second tip I have is there's different ways on burping a baby. So some people are comfortable putting the baby over the shoulder like this, and just gently tapping the baby. Some people like to put them on the chest, which is another way, which is my favorite way, where you could see the baby's face if they start to spit up or something's happening. Or some people like to put them over their legs and just gently give them a little tap. So there are different ways that you can do it, whichever way that makes you feel comfortable. I always say you do that way. Also, for me, when the baby doesn't burp, because sometimes babies, you're tapping away and babies don't burp. My favorite way of getting the baby to burp, I usually sit the baby on my legs and I give them like a little circle. I just give them like 5 times. I just roll them around in a circle like 5 times. And usually, if they don't burp, when you lift them to put them back on your chest, you'll hear that little burp come out. So, those are my tips for burping a baby. I think I'm the last doula. I'm not sure. Speaking? Am I?
Yes.
I think I am. Yes. So
Thank you,
I will see you
Shondell.
guys in the breakout room. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Those are great tips. Next is our breakout rooms. So this is the opportunity to chat with our team members. You will join a breakout room and stay there, and then the doulas will come in, and you just sit and hang tight. Please turn on your camera so that we can chat with you. This part will not be recorded, and we'll give a 1-minute warning before we move to the next doula.